Okay. All right, we're recording.
Howdy, Wyle, Russ here.
And Chris.
So you should vote if you want to. Not everybody wants to, that's why I say. And it's the right to vote.
Yes.
Some people are like, you can't criticize everything. You can't even criticize how things are if you don't vote. And it's like, well, you can. Technically, you can. You could have the opinion that it's not smart to, or that they shouldn't. Someone shouldn't do that. But the reality is, if you want to not vote and you want to criticize everything in this country, you are free to do that. But when it comes to voting, there's a lot of local things that you could vote on, even if you find it difficult to vote for the president, which I tend to be independent, and sometimes I feel like a black sheep. But more importantly, I have friends and family members who think differently and vote differently and look differently and are different even religions. And if they are good people, I'm keeping them in my life.
I agree with you. It's like, I think you should choose to vote or not vote because you may be of the mindset that we really don't have a choice either way because we're allowed only two choices. It's like we have political parties that like having that huge control of just having two choices, and they keep anyone else or any other parties from ever even really forming, so that you've got a choice between one or the other. It becomes, rather than full choice, you are given very limited choice, selection between what they've already chosen. So you can select between what they allow you to choose between is the way I feel. Yeah. And
that's why people sometimes also say two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Two
wings, birds on the wing.
No, it's two wings on the same bird.
Two wings on the same bird. Yeah.
And there are differences between the parties, but there's a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both sides, when you look into them, you're like, oh, both sides have members that are insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides voted for this war. Oh, both sides are doing kind of some financial stuff that's crazy. Oh, both sides used that campaign funding for something they probably shouldn't have, and they misreported it. Both sides do a lot of the same things. It's not every member, but there's some members on both sides that do some effed up things. And you should be able to ask questions. And I know it's difficult, and that's part of the reason I don't judge people for doing their best. I do think actions speak louder than words. I'm not going to cut off my family members. And I'm also not going to wish death upon a politician. I'm just not going to do that. And I don't think it's a moral high ground to say, I wish this politician would have been unalived. Yeah. I'm like, that's not a moral high ground. Like, you want me to follow you? It's like, no, that's not like your mindset. You want me to think that your mindset and your way of doing things is morally superior when you're wishing death upon someone? It's like, no, that's not the higher ground. And I believe that in this country, we have to try to be the change. Mm-hmm. And unity is a better future for this country than a divided future with the left and the right and some civil war or something. It's like, for me, it's like, no, we have to get along. We are sharing land.
Yeah. We don't always have to agree, but we need to learn to get along.
And you probably won't agree with somebody on every policy.
How can you? I don't agree with
policies?
You, and I live with you.
And we have voted differently. Like, there's been presidential elections where you voted one way and I voted a different way. Mm-hmm. And was that the factor that like made it difficult for us to have a relationship? No. Mm-hmm. In real everyday life.
In real everyday life, it's real everyday life.
It's financial stuff. It's human interactions. It's for us. He likes to keep stuff in more like the hoarder sense, but not as bad as some people.
I'm not a super hoarder. I'm just a hoarder.
But what would I be? I'm not as bad as I used to be.
He like just tosses things. He just like he doesn't even know like if it's in the way. It's like he just it doesn't even have to even like know what it is. He just tosses it. Gets it out of the way.
I try to donate it. I try to be responsible.
Drives me crazy.
But I'm saying that's actually been our probably. After almost 15 years or however many years we've been together, it's probably more you like to keep stuff in clutter and I don't like clutter. That's actually what's...
I don't like clutter. I prefer not to have clutter, but if you have a limited space and you got to put something somewhere, because you don't want to throw it away because you know it's still valuable. There's still value in it for you or someone else. I don't want to toss it. I don't want to fill the landfill with that.
You come from
I
a good,
save it.
You come with, I mean, the reason you're doing stuff is probably more morally correct than what I'm doing. Throwing stuff away is not a good mentality. If you can reuse it, that is the more responsible thing to do.
I say use
But
it or give it to somebody else.
I'm not a
if it
big
can still be
shopper
used.
either. I'm not a big shopper. I don't need a ton of stuff, so it's not like I'm buying stuff and just throwing it away. But I have thrown stuff away before, and you have found it in the garbage can.
He throws stuff away. It's like, that was change. That's money. How did that get in the trash can? How did that get in the trash can? I still don't know. Anyway.
I'd say that was one of the, and there's of course financial stuff that can be tricky, or sometimes you could have someone in your life that's difficult, but it's not because of who they voted for. I mean, I can find people who probably voted both directions, left and right, and some of them are good, and then some of them I'm like, dang, you are not a good person, and it has nothing to do with the voting part.
You're just like, you may be sketchy.
Just kind of like how someone's like, oh, I'm gay, you're gay, we could be best friends. I'm like, well, maybe. If we have stuff in common, like, I'm going to be kind, but are we going to click? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more to it than that. You're more than your sexuality. I think you're more than your vote. I think people have a tendency right now to be a little hateful, and I think it's because it's
We've been
happens.
encouraged to be.
Well, the news does it, but
The
I'm saying,
news
like,
encourages
this time
people
of year,
to
too.
hate the others.
You know, before the presidential election, right before it, voting day, I feel like everyone gets like amped up and kind of thinks like worst case scenario. And I've heard it on both sides. Like, if this blank gets elected, the world's going to end, or this country's going to go to crap. And there's some,
or this person is going to be Hitler.
Yeah, and I've heard that on both sides, or a communist, or a communist.
Yeah.
It's like, guys.
And people don't usually even know what those terms mean because they're complex terms.
Yeah.
They really are.
And what do they both have in common? They limit free speech. And once you start talking about like the leader in a negative light, often you're imprisoned or worse, unalived or whatever. So like allowing us to have the First Amendment.
Silenced in some way.
Yeah, silence. You gotta. I'm not a person who's like, hey, we need to like censor that speech because it's bad. It's like, no, you fight bad speech with better speech.
Yeah.
Because who decides what misinformation is? Right. If the winners, or the winners write the history, but if the ruling power at the time gets to decide what misinformation is, that's scary. Because how many times has science been wrong? How many times have things in the past been wrong and we had to change? We're wrong about things right now that we don't even know. In 20 years, we'll look back and be like, oh, that was wrong, that was right, that was wrong. Why do we think that? Medically or whatever.
I can tell you my opinion as to why we so often take the wrong choices and the wrong direction is we're not even permitted to know what a better direction is. Say with our energy sources right now. There are so many different new energy options that people have come up, brilliant minds have come up with, but you're never even allowed to, the public's never even allowed to know that they exist. There is a law, and I can't forget, I can't remember what it's called, but it's on patents, and there's 3 departments, I want to say, with the ABCs in our government, unelected officials, that get to look at patents, and if they decide the public should not know about these, the public never knows about them.
I agree, but you need to bring more receipts because those are more complex.
Well, there's also...
Just because I would like to look it up.
Well, I can take you to that video and show you, because there's been things I've seen that come across the news, and then they're shut up real quick. I've seen that happen.
The political divide when it comes to electric cars. For an example, on the right, or a lot of people on the right, I don't want to overgeneralize. I'm trying to be careful not to overgeneralize, and we need to all think of that. But a lot of people on the right, when they hear electric car, it's all bad. But not now, because of Elon Musk. Now it's getting more complicated.
Everything gets complicated.
But a lot of people on the right, they're like, oh, electric car, they're environmentally dangerous. They can blow up. Well, it's like, well, I guess you could say those same things about gas. They're environmentally dangerous and they can blow up. Those are both uh, examples of it. So how often does it happen? That's a good question. But on the left, you have the left pushing that, oh, these EVs, these electric cars are environmentally
So
friendly.
clean.
They're green, and then you're like, wait, go to the Congo. Why there's an open pit mine with sometimes like questionable labor, like kind of slave labor, with sometimes even children.
Not questionable
Artisanal
labor.
mining where they're using their
Absolutely.
hands. And
Deplorable mining.
if you've been to mining towns, you understand that that's polluting the area and maybe water supply and
Those
the batteries. The batteries, they're just not an environmentally friendly option. So to sell them as green, I'm like, I don't know. And in this country, a lot of the energy that we have to charge these batteries is coal powered.
Mm-hmm.
Or natural gas or something like that.
All
so it's like,
carbon-based.
is it really green? I'm just saying it's not exactly presented in a good way. Now that being said, all that, I enjoy driving the electric car. It's not fun on long road trips currently, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. They're fun.
And why would you not put your eggs into lots of energy baskets? Why would you not have an electric car and try to make it the best of the ability and try to limit slave labor and all of the terrible things that come with it? Because right now in this country, if you drill for oil, the people who drill for oil in this country, they're compensated properly. They're not slaves. So that would be a benefit of oil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And currently, when you charge an EV, you're still using coal.
Coal.
So at this point, it's like, it's not really...
Like we're given bad options. Like politically, we're often allowed not the best options. I mean, that's my belief. And for energy, we're not allowed the best options. Those are all kept to the side because the right people don't benefit the most from those options. It's all about who can be in power, who can keep or take power. That's what our allowances are permitted from.
And then we get so emotionally biased, like when you think of nuclear energy, this is just an example, your gut probably is like, ooh, you think of like the disasters that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so, because you don't want that to happen again. Yeah. But nuclear, I've been looking into it, it's like, okay, they're smaller, they're supposed to be safer, they are cleaner, they're hard to build though. But at the same time, all the regulations that make them difficult to build, you want those regulations because of the disasters.
You don't want another Chernobyl.
So they have their drawbacks too. And then when you give nuclear energy to a developing country, they end up making nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really what would I vote for? I would vote for whoever tries to keep us out of nuclear war. Whoever tries to keep us out of war, because these wars often don't end well. I would vote
Who's profiting from war? People die. People die on both sides. Who profits from war? Companies. Big companies, and you know their names.
And I would vote for free speech, because I think free speech has the way of spreading good information too. Like, hey, we should love our neighbors, or being able to question authority, I think is a good thing.
So I used to think that controlling some speech was actually a good thing. I'm now more a free speech absolutist, as long as you're not saying kill somebody.
So you're not an absolutist. I kind of figured out that I'm not an absolutist.
Okay.
Because I'm more of a First Amendment absolutist.
Okay. I mean, you don't go in and yell fire in a crowded building. And you don't tell someone that they should unalive someone else. You don't do that. But if someone wants to say something negative about me or us, I'd rather know that than there being a law that says they can't say something negative about me.
Yeah.
Because I want to know who they are, because I want to watch my back when I'm around them. I want to know to watch my back when I'm around them, rather than being naive and thinking they're, they're benevolent, thinking that they're okay. I can't come up with a word right now.
We both also admit that we are wrong a lot. I'm learning stuff all the time. I know I'm biased.
Usually when we argue, I'll end up coming around to your side a lot of the times.
No. Just depends on what it is.
I'm going to argue about that.
You're still a hoarder. No, you ain't. He's not that bad. He's not a hoarder show. You're just more cluttery than I am.
Mm.
But we're both biased. And how can you like not be biased, especially if you like watch TV? But even TikTok or whatever, you're seeing what, a few seconds of a huge concept, and you often see it edited in the whoever wrote it. You know, if they don't like somebody, they edit it in a way that favors supporting that.
They edit things out in order to support whatever their opinion and agenda is.
Often with the news, it's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you.
Yeah, that's it.
And then they leave stuff out and they don't tell you the nuances. Because I always use this example. You're watching a TV show and the writers are very good at writing. And they're making you like a character or dislike a character. But in this instance, let's say you're watching a TV show and you just don't like this character. Because the writers are doing such a good job of making you think like, this character is an a-hole. He's mean to everybody. Like, I just don't like him. Maybe even you hate him. I mean, you shouldn't, but like, maybe, and it's just a show. But you kind of are like, oh my gosh, I don't like this character. And then maybe the next episode, could be the next one, they start showing you the nuances of the character. You see the backstory, and you're like, wow, I kind of like this character. When you just hated him the last episode. Mm-hmm. But now you like him. I feel like the news does that.
There's a lot of psychology involved in all of this.
You see it with people. You'll be like, oh, I know you probably watch this news. After talking to him. Oh, you probably watch this news. And then you meet someone else and they have the exact same.
And then the thing is, do you ask them if they had ever watched this over here, look at that. It's like, no, I don't even need to look at that. Mm-hmm. That's usually it. It's like, no, I don't like that. I don't even want to look at that. And that's kind of how I've gone back and forth. It's like being willing to listen to someone that I thought I disagreed with, and then you hear what they're really saying rather than the news bites you've been allowed. It's like, dang, they actually have a point after all.
So yeah, imagine this. You are trying to listen to whoever you want to vote for, and you hear a couple like minute clip of maybe even a 20-minute conversation from a biased news. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of things against you. You're trying to hear like a huge policy in a couple minutes, which would probably take an hour really to dive deep into. And yes, you can do your own research. But let's say you're just watching TV news. You see a 3-minute clip. You see a 3-minute clip, and it's been edited by the biased news. It's like, how are you supposed to understand what the politician's actually saying?
You often can't.
You can't.
You've got to dive deeper. That's why I like the long podcast format.
I do enjoy, and you kind of want the problem with that would be you would need a host that really is wanting the truth, or wanting like a true journalist. Mm-hmm. That's actually asking questions and wanting to give the politician a chance to explain themselves. Mm-hmm. A chance
rather than just sit there and argue with them.
Yeah. You don't want somebody who interjects.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of these that will just like, if they're especially just with the news, they're wanting to ask the questions, then they're just digging. They're wanting to get the politician to say one thing or admit to something or disagree with something, and leave everything else uncovered. Oh, got you on that. Got you on that.
Got you moment.
It's a got you news cycle.
And part of it's the format. You only got a limited amount of time. Whereas in a podcast, you can actually maybe listen to a politician or a person for 3 hours, and you get to hear the nuances. Going back to the TV show, now you know the backstory. You don't know this much of the situation. You know a larger amount of the situation, and it gives us, the viewer, a better chance to be like, you know what, I agree with that, I don't agree with that. It gives us choice to actually make up our mind for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when you watch the news, it gets way too biased.
But again, the whole objective is to limit choice. Have we seen that?
And to limit information. That's what it's doing.
Limit information, limit choice, instead of full information and giving opportunity for choice.
So with the podcasts, Trump went on Joe Rogan. I've been a Joe Rogan fan.
I like Joe Rogan.
I wish Harris would have went on Joe Rogan. I don't want to talk about why she didn't, because there's she did be like, hey, I will do your show, but you have to come to me, and I only want to do it for an hour. And Joe Rogan's like, I don't come to people. People always come to me, and that's just his format.
And I don't just talk for an hour to anybody.
I think it provides the
think he does.
opportunity, and yeah, an hour you're not going to be able to hear a good in-depth description of policies. But I wish Harris would have done a podcast.
Yeah, I
for
would
3
love to have
hours.
heard her for 3 hours.
For 3 hours. It was nice to hear Trump for 3 hours, like him or not like him. I feel like that's a good way to hear some of the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than the debates. Those debates are gotcha moments, too short, a lot of interjection. It's not about trying to give each politician a chance to really describe their policy. It's about gotcha moments and interjection and making each side look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about speech. It's a performance.
Yeah.
And you hear people go into it that have already picked their side often. There's not very many people that are more independent and be like, hey, I'm here to try to make up my mind. It's like, no, they've already decided. And then it's like a sports team. It's like, for me, I was like, I'll just go watch a sports game. I want to hear the politician in a longer format on like a podcast or something, an interview for 3 hours and not edited. It can't be edited. Once it's edited, it's like, oh, I just don't know. And then you still have to do your own research even then. Just because they say something doesn't mean you trust it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know we're rambling. Is there anything else you could think? Oh, who did you vote for?
My business.
And that's how I feel. It's my business. And the backlash I got a little bit of backlash for being at one of your family's houses with a Trump flag in the background. I got some backlash.
I know.
Somebody DM'd me on Facebook that thought I was a good person, but because we wanted to associate somebody with a Trump flag, which, by the way, if that was a Harris flag, I'd still be there. Just to give you an example, I don't care.
Their yard,
It
their flag.
Could have been a rainbow flag. It could have been a football flag. Whatever. But the person who was like, they thought we were a good person. This was through Facebook messaging.
That we were a good person?
They thought we were good people. Good
Okay.
people. They thought we were good people.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were not hating or disowning that part of our family.
I'm not disowning my family.
Because we wouldn't do that, we're bad people now.
Yeah. No.
And you have a family member that was in the hospital, but we're supposed to just not talk to them.
Yeah.
Because they might have voted a different way.
Or may support a different politician. Yeah.
But love us.
Yeah.
And their actions have always been nice, and they feed us, and we have great dinners, and but we're supposed to not talk to them.
Screw that. It's like, you're not dividing me on politics. It's like, you may choose to not associate with me based on politics. That's your prerogative, but I'm not like putting a political party above friends or family. I'm not making that choice.
I'm not going to do that either.
So.
And I will talk to people who are different. I can think of like friends who definitely think differently than me when it comes to politics, and I love them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if I base my life on only those associated with my political party, there's been times when I would have had no family.
Or me, at certain points.
Or you. And I would have only had my friends that thought like-mindedly that. And then it turns out, 4-8 years down the road, I couldn't have even associated with myself.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
When I was raised in my particular church, I'm not going to overgeneralize, we sometimes as a church kind of had some judgments to like the others, whether it was Mormon or Catholic, or definitely like Muslims or something, or Buddhists.
Something of the religion that wasn't with your
so
little
much,
denomination or non-denomination.
So much to the degree that when I went on a date with a girl in 4th grade, she got me a Buddha. And I remember seeing, I was like, oh crap, she just got me something from Satan. I'm like, oh crap. I think I threw it away. I wouldn't even take it home. It was just a Buddha. Like
now she's gonna know if she watches this.
Yeah,
you threw away her Buddha.
Yeah. But I'm just saying I had a lot of fear, and it's because they were the others. They were hateful. And
you'd been told to be afraid.
I also believe that you have the right to have your own religion in this country, whatever. But I've been in that boat where I've been around people, and I think at the time I was younger, so it was easier for me to be scared of somebody who had a completely different faith.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, I don't agree with everything that's in the Quran. I have looked up some anti-gay stuff in the Quran. I'm like,
It's
ooh,
in
that's
there.
scary. But there are good Muslim people,
Mhm.
even if I don't agree with everything. Or you could say that about any religion. I'm just pinpointing one, but there are sometimes people who, even their country or their politics in their country, I might not agree with, but the people themselves.
Hello. Where are we standing?
I know.
It's like, I wouldn't have voted for us to enter any of these conflicts, wars. Call them conflicts. It makes them sound better.
We don't want to go in the weeds too much. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going in the weeds.
We always go in the weeds.
But we're trying to, like, also in 25 minutes or 26 minutes, we're trying to say a lot of things. So we did our best. There are nuanced discussions, and often I will agree with some things on the left and some things on the right. And I think maybe a lot of us are like that.
Well, of course, but the thing is, we have to remember too, the way our system is set up, with even the bills that are put before us, or excuse me, before Congress, for them to vote on. Sometimes they will introduce a bill, and by the time everyone's tacked on all these other things that are totally unrelated, they can't even vote for their own bill. They have to reject it because they can't go
Yeah,
for
that's
everything
weird.
that's in it. So our system is set up with some major flaws.
Well,
in
like
it.
going to war with
Even though it's
or sending funding
decent
to
system.
Israel. It was sending funding to Israel, sending funding to Ukraine, and the TikTok ban. They were all in the
all
same
tied
bill.
together,
It's like those are very
Unrelated.
different things.
totally unrelated. Why would they have been lumped? They lumped them purposely like that to make it like impossible to make really calculated decisions or good decisions, because I guess you have to calculate a lot, but you can't make a good decision on that. Lumping things that are totally unrelated together and then having to vote on it, you're voting for some things that you like and for some things you're adamantly opposed to. That's a bad setup in our system.
Yeah.
And it's also what gives politicians on one side of the aisle the ability to criticize the other side of the aisle because they voted for something that they didn't even like, because they
Yeah.
had to vote for it in order to get through what they
The bill.
wanted to get through. So
And
it's
often
screwy.
These votes could be a conflict of interest because they're voting a certain way on a bill because corporations were donating to the party, and it happens on both sides. The reality is, big money is in politics, and it's more of an oligarchy.
Mhm.
Our system's at least heading towards an oligarchy. Either you have billionaires, or the ruling class supporting a politician, or corporations or big banks, pharmaceutical industry. That's kind of what
Big
it's
money.
become.
Let's just put it this way. Big money that's seeking power.
So I hate
More
to say it,
power.
I don't have a whole lot of trust sometimes when it comes to politicians. I just don't, and I don't think we should be
What's the
trusting.
percentage? What's the percentage of bills that get passed into law?
I've heard this. I don't know if it's true, but it said 33% of bills or 30% of bills get passed, whether or not it's a popular decision from the people, or whether it has popular
with
support,
the people, or
whether it
not.
has popular support, or whether or not it's not popular. It could be majority popular for the people,
Mhm.
and the bill still passes 30% of the time. People could not like it, and it passes 30% of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still true.
There's a video. Well, there was a guy that did this study, and it was a good video.
It's hard to
But
know because you Google something
remember.
now, or when you search something, it's all like an algorithm that was programmed anyways.
And it
And
depends
often
on
you
how you
Google-
ask
Yeah,
your
so-
question as to what answer you get.
So even when you try to play devil's advocate, it's difficult. But I will tell you, we were at a store yesterday, and someone came up to Chris and I, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are so kind." So at the end of the day, it's like when I talk about all this stuff, I still want to try to be like, okay, how do I think and be the person that is good for this world? How do I be the best version of me, which I will not always be. I will be bad
I've seen
sometimes.
worse things.
I will sometimes fall short of being a good person. Because I'm not on a moral high ground, and my shit stinks like everybody else, like every other politician. But how do I?
You're not a politician.
Well, I'm just saying their shit
Okay.
stinks. You're right. I might have said it weird, but I'm saying that I am a flawed person that is biased, but one thing I want to try to do is try to be kind to everybody and see a better future, which includes me talking with people who think differently and loving my family members regardless of who they voted for, or loving my friends regardless of who they voted for if they are good people.
So we didn't start this video to even say like 99% of everything we've said. We're going to say, if you choose to, get out there and vote today. You know, make your best choice, but don't make that the all in all and think that whoever gets in office is going to destroy us or save us, because it's not up to them. They don't have the power that we think we do. There's other people with more power behind the scenes, and who really needs to have the power is we the people, and we need to just take it back and stop letting politics divide us.
Yeah.
And see what our commonalities are and stand together, because hey, you've always heard it. We've all heard it. United we stand, divided we fall.
And you have the right to vote for who you want or not vote. I believe that too.
Yeah.
Is that about it?
I think that's about it.
All right, shall we post just the way it is?
Well, you can watch it.
Maybe we shouldn't even watch it. I mean, I got tongue-tied a few times, but we sometimes polish it. We're talking about having it unedited.
Oh, God only knows what it's going to be.
But please say one last word. Say something kind to everybody. It's nice.
Realize that your family and friends are the closest people to you, and they're who you should bond with. You know, they're who you should hold dear. And yeah, admit that they have flaws, but look for their good points. I mean, we all have them.
And I will just add that it's very situational. I have family members that I don't talk to a whole lot because of my situations. Nothing to do with politics, by the way.
Yeah, we're talking politics here.
I know, I'm just saying.
There's family things that go on that you kind of sometimes have to deal with.
Yeah. But the ones that are good people, the ones that are visiting us right now and about to come over, my mom and my stepdad, I mean, I'm going to embrace them. We don't have forever. Like, even we're going to go to Alabama soon, and we're going to visit family members.
Yes.
And it's not a political thing, is it?
No.
So,
family is not there forever, unfortunately.
Also, comment below good energy for your family members, including the one that's in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good person that I like very much. Why not?
I got all good family.
You got a good family.
I
So
got
do
good family.
All right, love you all very, very much. This is Ra, and please be kind to people. That's all I'm saying.
Be kind today. It's an important day.
And play devil's advocate and be willing to listen to people who think differently.
Recognize we're all human.
And
we're all
biased.
flawed.
All right, love you all. Bye, Russ.
And Chris.
Love you long time.